Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to Toasty TCG, or welcome to the channel if this is your first time. Today I have a brand new updated Master Rule 5 ready to go Thunder Dragon list that a few of you have been asking for after I showed you the combo video. So to get into the list, we're all just going to start with all the basic stuff you guys already know. Your Thunder Dragon duos are 2 of these days, your 3 Thunder Dragon Darks, your 3 Thunder Dragon Matrixes, your 3 Roar, and we actually went back up to 3 Hawk again, and your 3 Thunder Dragon. So the reason behind the Hawk is we've added a few changes to the deck that makes Hawk a little bit better because it's easier to get those Roars and Darks into the graveyard, which I'll show you guys in a moment if you haven't seen the combo video I posted a couple days ago. Then next up is our other starters, our normal summons. That's going to be our 3 Batteryman Solar and our 3 Aloof Lupine. Now, as I've explained time and time again, you need to play a maximum amount of starters because there's no Colossus anymore. If you open just like a really weird hand and you don't open a Solar or an Aloof, you might find yourself in a bad spot. So you usually want to open one of these, so you need to maximize them out. Now next up is a few odd one-ofs. Our Chaos Dragon Levianeer and our Gizmek Orochi. So for those of you who've watched the last couple of videos, you know that I've been playing Gizmek Orochi since last format. But due to some changes in the deck, we might just be cutting Orochi. Now, Levianeer, it's really just a nice late game top deck. That's why we only play it at 1. We really don't want to open it. You just want to see it late game or mid game. But this isn't a card that you would prefer to open at the beginning of the game. Then next up is the 2 Luna the Dark Spirit. This card works in tandem with your Batteryman Solar, so that way it gets a little more mileage. A lot of people complain about Solar because your best Solar play is to open it with your Hawk, but if you open Solar and Luna, then you essentially do the same combo. So this pretty much gets you to your 5 Hawks, and it just makes Solar a bit of a better opener. Whereas Aloof is the best out of the 2, but you want to give the Solar more ways to function. Then next up is the 1 Dragonbuster Destruction Sword, which I will explain later. So we're just going to put this guy off to the side so it doesn't get lost. And now the final monster, as I've shown off in a previous video, is our 3 Quick Draw Synchron. Now, once again, I'll get into this card later. This is very important for your combo, and it's the reason that we play Hawk at 3, because this card, to summon itself, discards a monster. So if you open those weird hands where you open, say you open Roar and Hawk, and there's really, no play from there, your Quick Draw Synchron can discard your Roar now. Now your Hawk is live to get your Roar back, and you're able to play the game. But that's not all that Quick Draw Synchron is here for, and I'll show you guys that later. If you haven't seen the combo video, you'll know in a bit. Then next up is 3 Tuning. This card is crazy. So what it does is it searches any card, well, any monster that has a tuner and has Synchron in the name. Any Synchron tuner adds it to your hand and mills the card. Now, that mill might not sound important, but sometimes it does come up. You can get the light or the dark monster you need to mill for your duo. You can sometimes hit the right card that you need to make your Hawk live. This card is very crazy. So it gets you to your Quick Draw Synchron, which can fix your hand, and sometimes it can fix your graveyard as well. Next up is the 3 standard Thunder Dragon Fusion. Some people have talked about cutting this back down to 2 since we have Anaconda. But the thing with Anaconda is it actually doesn't come up as much as we had anticipated. The card that you really want to go into is, once again, something I'm going to show you guys later. Anaconda is actually not the card you want to go into too much, but it's still an option that we're playing. Then the 1 gold sarcophagus, you have to play it. It's always a very good starter. It's also pretty much just good at any point in the game. You can banish your dark late game, you can banish your roar early. And speaking of banishing, 3 Allure of Darkness. Once again, just draw 2, banish any dark out of your hand. That can include Thunder Dragon Dark, Thunder Dragon Roar. It's pretty much just always live almost all the time. At least 95% of the time your allures are live. And finally, Pot of Desires. This is the reason that I'm considering cutting the Gizmek, because now we're not only banishing for Gizmek if we see it, but also Pot of Desires, and these all go face down, so this can really just kill your deck's momentum. So this is something to consider. The Gizmek is a good card because it can help facilitate OTKs, but Desires is very good in this deck because we're playing so many 3-ofs that you really don't risk losing anything. Now, onto the extra deck, our 1 Battery Man token. We, of course, play the Link Kuriboh. You have to play your Link Kuriboh. Now, what makes this card really good now is the summon conditions on your Union Carrier. So, Union Carrier has to use 2 monsters with the same type or the same attribute, and there's a lot of weird times where you'll have your Aloof and your Dragon Matrix on the field, and you can link your Dragon Matrix off into Link Kuriboh. Now you have 2 dark monsters on the field, allowing you to make your Union Carrier. Now, this is the card I was talking about previously. It's very important to play in this deck. It's actually more important than Anaconda, because once you have this out, you can equip your Dragon Sword to a Thunder Dragon Duo, a Thunder Dragon Roar, and a few other cards I'm going to show you in a moment. Now, next up is the very standard Cloth Sheep. We actually don't go into this card quite as much anymore because of Union Carrier. Union Carrier just enables a lot of really neat setups, but Cloth Sheep is still very, very important for getting into those Link 4 plays late game, or you can also go right into Cloth Sheep early on in the duel to make another Link 4. Now, next up, we still play the IP Masquerena. Once again, it's another card that's still very good. We just don't make it too much anymore because of Union Carrier kind of doing everything that the deck needs to do. Then after that, we're playing a bit of a Nightmare package here. We play the Nightmare Cerberus, the Nightmare Unicorn, and the Nightmare Phoenix. Let me switch those around so they're all co-linked like that. Now, lately, in the last few months, people have dropped the Nightmare Cerberus. The reason that we're putting it back in is a lot of people are getting comfortable with Master Rule 5, where they can just put their extra deck monsters right in the main monster zones. We're going to be able to get around those plays by playing our Nightmare Cerberus. So we're going to be able to pop special summon monsters in the main monster zones. Next up is the Verde Anaconda I'd spoken about previously. Now, the reason that this card is just not as important as we had anticipated is after you use it, you can't summon for the rest of the turn. So it's still a very good card. The problem, though, is Union Carrier just overshadows it. Union Carrier has the ability to just equip a card to your Titan. So you can just equip a Thunder Dragon Dark to your Titan, for example. So if your opponent would go to, say, remove the Titan, you get to search something with the Dark on your opponent's turn. So that might discourage them from really dealing with the Titan at the moment if they don't have a way to answer the Thunder Dragon Dark search. And once you get your search off Thunder Dragon Dark, you can pretty much just build momentum from there. Because if they send the Titan to the grave, you now have a light and a dark in your grave, and your dark can search your duo, setting your dark up for your next turn, where you banish the Titan and the dark for your duo, and then you get your dark search again on your turn. That's just one example of how good Union Carrier is. But going back to Verde Anaconda, if your search off Thunder Dragon Dark is stopped, the one that gets you your Thunder Dragon Fusion, you still just link into Verde Anaconda, and then you can just send the Fusion instead. And that way you still have Fusion in Grave, you still have Titan on field. The only downside is you had to just deal with that hand trap. You had to eat the hand trap, and you couldn't set up the best board this deck possibly makes. Now, onto the Link 4s. We're still playing Boral Sword, and we're still playing Appaloosa. These, of course, are just staples from day one. You can still use your Claw Sheep to combo into them, as I mentioned before, and we're still, of course, just playing them because they're pretty much the best Link 4s in the game. Then, of course, is our 3 Thunder Dragon Titan. This card is a mandatory 3 of. You can't play this card at 2. If you play this card at 2, you're going to have weird situations. And what I mean by that is when you have your first Titan, you shuffle back just any 3 Thunder Dragons. And when you have your second Titan, again, you shuffle back just any 3 Thunder Dragons. But when you go for your third Titan, you have to shuffle back one of these 2 Titans back. You can shuffle back both of them if the situation allows it. But if you play just 2 Titans, you always have to shuffle back Titan. The reason for that is once you have all 3 of your Titans, or if you only play 2, if you have all 2 of your Titans in your grave, your Thunder Dragon Fusion is dead. There's nothing in your extra deck to make it. So you have to play 3. These situations do come up, and you have to be prepared for them. Now, next up is the reason that we play Quick Draw Synchron. Ultimaya to Zolkin. Now, again, if you're free to look back on the combo video, it's about like 1 or 2 videos down. It's just the Thunder Dragon Master Rule 5 combo tutorial video. Definitely check that out. It explains this combo completely, how to do it, why it's good, what we're doing with it. And Tzolk'in gets you your Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon. Now, keep in mind, this is a dragon monster, so when you make your Union Carrier, you can equip your Dragon Buster Sword to it, your Dragon Buster Destruction Sword to it. So, keep in mind, Buster Destruction Dragon Sword Wombo Combo card says your opponent can't summon from their extra deck, as long as it's equipped to a monster. Now, also keep in mind, if you have access to your Ultimaya Tzolk'in and Union Carrier before Crystal Wing, you can target Tzolk'in with your Union Carrier and equip the Destruction Sword. Now, after that, you can set your Thunder Dragon Fusion for your Crystal Wing, and because you have a Synchro on the field, your opponent can't target Tzolk'in with effects or attacks. So, in rare cases, your opponent is able to just attack the Crystal Wing and somehow deal with it, or use an effect to get rid of it. But if you do it this way, your opponent really has a hard time dealing with the Ultimaya Tzolk'in because of the Crystal Wing. So they have to deal with the Crystal Wing first, before they can deal with your Tzolk'in, before they can get into their extra deck. So it's a really strong setup, but also keep in mind that in some situations, your Union Carrier will get you to your 5th summon. And what I mean by that is when you do it this way, where you just go Ultimaya to Tzolk'in and then set the Crystal Wing before Union Carrier, the Crystal Wing is usually your 4th or 5th summon. So that blocks Nibiru. But if you're playing against a deck, say like Sky Strikers, where you know they're not going to play Nibiru because that's going to lock out all their spells, then you can do it this way, where you go Ultimaya to Tzolk'in, equip the sword, summon the Crystal Wing. So it really depends on what you're playing against. You have to know what you're playing against before you choose how you want to do this combo. So this, either way, your opponent's locked out of their extra deck. Now, keep in mind that once this is equipped, your opponent's also locked out of Super Poly, so they can't just erase your whole field, or they can't Shaddoll Fusion and do their own combos, Invocation, Salamandrates. Pretty much every deck in the meta is just really crippled by this setup. And you're also, in most cases, going to have a Titan on the field, and in other cases, that Titan will be live with a Matrix or a Dark to back it up. So that about wraps up the extra deck, and why pretty much every choice in this deck is pretty solid. Now onto the side deck. We have 3 Phantasme. I talked about this card in my top 10 side deck cards for Master Rule 5. That video is a little bit obsolete after the ban list though. There are a few choices that I made before the ban list came out, so that video, a few of the choices I made are incorrect now, unfortunately. Then next up is 3 Twin Twisters. Again, you guys that have been watching these videos for a while know that I hate back row decks, Twin Twisters to deal with all those. And speaking of dealing with back row decks, 3 Lightning Storm, just once again, getting rid of back row. And then, once again, speaking of back row decks, 3 Evenly Matched. This can also deal with combo decks that set up a similar board to us, where we're negating monster effects only. 1 Evenly Matched, and you can break through boards such as our own. And just 3 Nibiru. We're still playing against combo decks, we're still keeping those things in mind, so you still want to play your Nibiru, or you can play Dark Ruler no more in here as well. It's really a player choice thing, how you want to deal with back row decks, how you want to deal with combo decks. You really just want to keep all these things in mind when you create your side deck. But this side deck is geared mostly towards handling back row decks. We do struggle with Altergeist a lot, and I wouldn't doubt that we'd struggle with Paleo or True Draco even a little bit still. So you really want to gear a Thunder Dragon deck, side deck, to deal with back row, but you also always want to keep combo decks in mind. You don't want to be on the receiving end of a 3, 4, 5 negate board because you didn't have Nibiru, because you didn't have your Lightning Storm evenly matched, anything like that. Just keep all those elements in mind when building your side deck. But that about wraps it up for today. So let me know in the comments what you guys think, what kind of changes you feel Thunder Dragons will be seeing in the future, and definitely, if you have questions regarding the quick draw tuning combo, check out the other video before leaving any comment about that, because it's kind of just counterproductive or redundant, so make sure you check those out. And I will be actually leaving a Thunder Dragon profile on my Dueling Book account. You can find that at Garo, G-A-R-O, on Dueling Book. I'm gonna have the Thunder Dragon profile in my little bio, profile account information thing. You guys can check that out and see what I'm working with, what I'm thinking about doing, what kind of how my deck lists look, so you can always check that out. So feel free to check that out. And that about wraps it up. This is Toasty TCG signing out.